Welcome to I Heart Geek.
And welcome to another episode of I Heart Geek. If you guys were privy to the conversations we have before we start recording, I'm Dub. I'm Dub. I'm here with Courtney, and I'm here with Skeeter. And oh my gosh, we had a last second switch out, so there's only 3 of us today, but we're gonna truck on through, and I think we have an excellent episode for y'all. So we actually
talk about my boyfriend.
We have gotten more feedback from people when we say, what kind of episodes you like, that people like these research deep dive into character episodes. So we have never done Captain America, and we figured it's time, because you know why?
Why haven't we done Captain America?
I don't know, but it's America's birthday,
so
it's a good time.
It is. It is a good time.
And it's his 80th birthday or anniversary.
Yeah, 80th anniversary. No, March is his birthday, but it's
in Manhattan.
Thanks, Marvel. In 1941 is when 1941 was like a big superhero year.
It was
because we got
Wonder
Woman,
the Golden Age.
Yeah, we got Wonder Woman, we got Green Arrow, whose 80th birthday is this year too.
We got Alan Scott Green Lantern.
Yeah, I mean, and I think was Batman 41 or 40?
No, Batman is a little older.
Yeah, I think he's either 40.
Batman and Superman, I think, are the
Superman's 39. Season. Yeah, Superman's 39. Namor's 38. But yeah, 41 was a year for a lot of our iconic characters to show up.
Yeah.
Across both DC and Marvel.
So let me tell you about what's going to go on with this episode. We are doing just a deep dive. We all researched the heck out of Captain America. We're talking the comic version. We're talking the movie version. We're talking the horrible TV version. We're talking everything that is Captain America.
That 1980s version of the movie, which was awful.
Oh, it was so gloriously bad.
Which you can watch it. You can stream it if you want to see how bad it is, folks.
The TV show.
Oh yeah,
just like Spider-Man. The TV
it didn't
show.
work. Well, they never had the money for it. So today's show is brought to you by ICE. It's a heck of a way to extend your career. Oh, So before we begin, I do want to say we had just the most fantastic review on iTunes for us. And if you are listening, contact us and we have some stickers for you. In fact, if you guys write a great review, 5-star review for us, and it catches our attention, let us know, like screenshot it and send it to us, because we definitely will get you a sticker or something, because we really appreciate you guys getting the word out. And it's Tweetster, something like that. Just a fantastic review, and we really, really appreciate it. Now, before we start, click your like button and do your subscribe. Okay, now you are got your seatbelt on, you're ready to go. Let's go on this.
Let's talk
journey.
Cap.
So we are talking all things Cap. Our primary focus is on Steve Rogers. Let's be honest, we don't like most of the rest of the guys that took on.
We do like Falcon. We like Falcon,
but
but
to me, he's still Falcon, and I think Falcon is an important character.
Those are my 2 favorite Caps, Steve and Falcon. So
we will be talking high. And we will be talking high points. How he actually. Every time there's a Captain America comic, I believe that enlistment in the army went up for a certain point. It went up like 5% every time there was a new story arc that came out. That's how big of influence Captain America had.
Yeah,
and we're going to be talking about the bad stuff, the later years, a little bit. We don't want to gripe about it, but the Hail Hydra Captain America, which is the worst storyline I think in comic history. I hate that more than I hate the Skrulls.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's true. You really hate the Skrulls.
I really
you hate the Skrulls with the power of 1,000 fiery suns.
I stopped reading Captain America after the Hail Hydra.
I'm trying to figure out the level of hate for the Skrulls versus Natalie Portman. I don't know. It's
Brie Larson.
Or Brie Larson.
Yeah.
If only they could
hatred.
Act. But I don't hate them unconditionally.
Intense.
I don't hate them unconditionally. hate them as long as they can't act. If they can put in a good performance, I'd be in.
All right, boys, let's get back on the Cap train.
Okay, let's move back to Captain America. Okay, so let's discuss, in our opinion, why is Captain America such an amazing, memorable character? And a caveat to that: when was the first time you remember connecting with Captain? Now, I'll tell you mine. For some reason, you know, I don't remember a time that there wasn't a Captain America comic book around my room somewhere. But I remember connecting with him because they had those, I think 4 3/4 inch superhero toys. They had Green Lantern. They had a bunch of them, but they also had some Marvel ones. And I had the Captain America, and I had him, and I had Iron Man, and I connected with the Captain America as a kid. I remember, this is cool, the way the lines are, the red, white, and blue. You look at him and you know what he stands for. And then you have Iron Man. He's like, he's a robot. Okay. As a kid,
Guess which one I had.
But as a kid, that's part of why I connected. Because I mean, even, you know, I think the suit is a big part of it. It is, you know, you look at it and you know what he's about. There is no question. I think that's a big part of it. Let's start with you, Skeeter. Why do you think he's so iconic, and when did you connect with him?
I connected. I mean, I loved riding bikes as a kid, like BMX. If we could get out on dirt bikes and 3-wheelers and stuff as a kid, that was always cool to me. One of the toys that I had, I remember going to, there was a store over there across from, it might have been Kmart, here in Reading, and they had that Captain America like trick toy, and like you put the cord into the back tire, little teeth thing, and you pulled it out really fast, and you set it down, and he would jump off of things, and you know, he was just Captain America, like it flew off the jumps, and that was awesome to me. And like, he was indestructible, like you could do whatever you wanted with him. But that was around the same time as that really, you know, hardcore 80s version of Captain America TV show, and it was just awesome. Like he was just this guy that was just genuinely good, and he was strong, and he fought for those who couldn't fight for themselves. And I kind of wanted to be that way, you know. I kind of wanted that life, and that's where I connected to him.
Fair enough. What about you, Courtney?
I think like what made him so popular was that he came along, and I think we've talked about this before when we talk about heroes in general. He came along at a time when people needed a hero. They needed somebody who could do the things that the average person could not do. You know, so like punch Hitler and fight the Nazis. And I mean, so, you know, he came around just at the right time. But the thing is he's endured because of the very things that brought him out in the 40s to begin with: doing the right thing, defending your country and your family and those you care about. And then, I mean, they touch on it in the first Avenger movie, is with Steve Rogers in particular. Steve is always still that kid from Brooklyn. Yeah. He never forgets who he is. Like, he never lets his ego and his strength and all the superpower he's still that simple kid from Brooklyn. And I think that's what makes it, because he's an everyman kind of character, but he's an everyman with powers.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what endures. And I mean, there's also that great quote in, I think it's in Avengers, in the first Avengers film, where he's talking to Coulson about his red, white, and blue uniform.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Don't you think it's old fashioned?" And Coulson answers, "People just might need a little old fashioned right now." And I think that's part of also the enduring, because when you see the shield or you see the costume, you're like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
He'll protect me.
But and see, that's part of why and I'm not meaning to skip ahead too much, but that's part of why people had such a backlash when they had Captain America go bad, because Captain America is him and Superman are the two characters that can't skirt the line. They are.
No.
They're so black and white, and that's, the big blue Boy Scout and Captain America. You have to have these characters.
Yeah.
Language.
Well,
well, you can have a Batman
I mean,
who can skirt the line. Captain America can't.
So does Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I mean,
All
well, and
other
the
characters.
thing with the thing is with Captain America, when they made him go bad, it was Hail Hydra. The other problem is nowhere in Cap's crazy, well, now it's 80, but then I think it was like 70, in his 70-year history, would he ever have been on the side of the Nazis, on the side of Hydra, ever. I don't care what you do to him. He would never be that way. So in my opinion, and it's probably going to get me like blackballed by Marvel, in my opinion, the guy they handed him to build this character and this arc didn't understand his character.
No, not at all.
Because if you truly understood the source material and you truly knew what your job assignment was, you never would have made Cap a Hydra spy. And I think the backpedaling that they did,
it was terrible,
to try to fix the problem, made it worse.
Yeah, the in almost every iteration, like from history, at some point you see you see Cap kind of fall off when kind of like, as I think about it as 9/11, God-fearing, love our country, love the flag. There was flags everywhere, Captain America, kind of thing going on. And then all of a sudden, as we kind of move away from it, we kind of move away from Captain America's strength and his piece, of what he does. And then we try to, so at that point, they do something that, it really doesn't matter that we do. But for the faithful, for the Captain America strong, those people are looking at this going, really? Hail Hydra? Or mind control? Or murder? Like, he's killed by the woman that he loves, and then he's floating around the galaxy. Like,
yeah.
I feel like that's when they did those things in the low points. And then when he comes back on top, when you get Steve Rogers back, everything is good, and then it's just this roller coaster.
Yeah.
At least that's the way I looked when I did my research. So I mean,
I think probably my favorite response to the Hail Hydra was Chris Evans himself, because he went on Twitter and it was a barrage of "Are you nuts?" I mean, it was pretty good stuff. But I don't know you guys and our listeners out there. I loved when they basically thumbed their nose in Endgame to the guy who wrote it by doing the Hail Hydra in the elevator in Endgame, because that was literally a you butthole moment.
Yeah, it was,
and we're gonna make you feel extra stupid.
The look on his face when he does it too, like you can kind of see that little smirk,
when he walks away with
that kind of like
I would never really be like that. You could pinpoint the comic book people in the audience that I was in, because we all laughed our heads off.
Yeah.
And everybody was else like, why is that funny?
Yeah.
I'd explain to my mom, I'm like, okay, so there was this run.
No, I say, I think let's get off of this, because I don't like to give I'm not even going to say the writer's name. I don't want to give him any credit, because I think that he basically spilled wine on the white carpet.
Very well.
I think that's kind of where. So let's start talking about any research we have. Let's start with World War II era Cap. This is everything pre the freeze.
Classic Cap.
Classic Cap. The comic book, the original comic book, had the spandex and all that, and I liked, honestly, like towards the later end when it was more of a leather armor rather than just the spandex. And that's, I mean, let's be honest, that's very Claremont stuff, with the super spandex and all that. But then again, my biggest go-to with Cap is the the costuming with the red, white, and blue, and they've never gotten away from it. I'm so glad. Okay, so let's start with the history. Cap showed up before the bombing of Pearl Harbor with the issue number 1, which the very iconic, which I'm wearing if you're watching on YouTube, which is Captain America punching Hitler in the face. Now, yeah, that brought attention to. I mean, the U.S. War Department could not have paid enough money to Marvel for making Captain America, and I don't know that they did, but it definitely drew a lot of awareness to what was going on. So go ahead, Courtney. I know you had some stuff on this.
I think I don't think the War Department. I think honestly, what it did is you have to remember that Cap was created by 2 Jewish gentlemen.
Yeah,
and I think it was just their response to what they were seeing that was happening in Europe, and it's like they wanted to punch Hitler, so let's have our new superhero do it too.
Yeah.
And what I did read is he was originally supposed to be called Super American.
Oh.
Yep. Yeah, but they decided because there were so many super people around at the time that they went with Captain because there weren't that many captains in there.
Yeah, that was the legit original was going to be Super American.
Super American.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's not cool. Let's go with the Captain. And yeah.
And and let's be honest, a lot of these stories are in this era are for the kids. There's not a whole lot of deep stuff to them, except one thing we'll hit in just a second, but they introduced us to most of the villains we have today in the Avengers and everything else showed up in those early pre-war or World War II era comic books, which I think
Cap faced off with a lot of the villains that have he was a lot of the first one to face off with a lot of the big villains that we have. Kang and Thanos, even
Zemo
and Baron Zemo,
of course, Red Skull,
obviously
Doom.
Red Skull.
He fought against Doom.
So yeah, he fought against
Doom
some
before
of
the Fantastic Four.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing is like Cap did a trial run for a lot of these villains before they were these big villains that we knew them to be. So,
and honestly, that's a litmus test. If you can make it through Captain America, people will read you. People will pay attention to you enough.
Yep,
which I think is great. Now they did give us our first dark moment in comics, and I mean it used to be Bucky Barnes dies. You know, who was not the Bucky Barnes we know now. He was a kid sidekick. He was very much Robin, but the death of him was. They said there's two people that can never come back from comic books: Uncle Ben and Bucky Barnes. And
Bucky Barnes.
For a lot of years, that was the absolute case.
And then comes the Winter Soldier, but
that's post World War II. But I think that was the first death that stuck. I think that meant something. Even when I read the old omnibus and all that, I'm like, how were kids of that era handling this? You know what I mean? I don't know if that, but I think that shaped a lot of the comics today. You know, we always talk about, Dark Knight changed everything. I think the killing of Bucky Barnes changed everything in comics. Because it wasn't a happy ending.
Maybe. Yeah.
No.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, if you go back, there's not many older comics than, we were just talking about it. There's not many that are older than Captain America. I mean, here's Cap coming up on 80, Batman, I think we said was older, but how dark was Batman at the time? I mean, it wasn't that way. We weren't getting these things. Now, all of a sudden, in this era of love America, buy your war bonds, go to work in a steel factory, making ammunition and airplanes, we don't want to think about losing our heroes, our guys over there fighting the good cause and punching Hitler in the face, all of a sudden we lose a symbol of freedom. We lose this and we get dark really quick.
Yeah.
One of the big things for me was, when I was doing my research, was how often, it seems very often that Steve Rogers gets almost, I don't want to sound wrong when I say this, but it's like he gets tired of the role. He kind of walks away and comes back and he goes away and comes back and goes away, because there's so many iterations of Captain America from whatever purpose. Through the entire history, it's crazy how many. And I never realized that until we started talking about this show. And it was shocking to see him go away and come back, and then him dying and how he died.
Yeah.
Well, and sometimes he doesn't do the walking away. Sometimes he gets
walked away from.
Yeah, he gets walked away from. And that's what gives us the Captain instead of Captain America, and that's what gives us Nomad, the man without the country.
Yeah.
So he's like with Superman is Superman. Even when he gets tired of being Superman, Superman is still Superman. Cap, when he goes through the fluctuations, when the world or the country doesn't he doesn't think so, or they think they don't need him anymore, that's when he steps away, but he's still in the back doing what he does, but he might not be Captain America at the time. So absolutely.
So now this with Captain America in very specific order, I believe they said that, what was it, 40% of all the Captain America comics that were sold went to soldiers. Now this is all the fun punch Hitler in the face, fun stories they're gonna wind themselves up in 23 pages or 33 pages. Now, but let's go forward. When all these soldiers went home, this is when they discovered, there's a market for adults that are reading these comics. And no, it's not adult content, but it's more the themes, like with Bucky Barnes, and some of the stuff that they did with Red Skull was dark.
Well, and with Zemo too.
And Zemo.
Some of the stuff they did with Zemo.
And everything wasn't so black and white, even World War II era. But these people that had been reading it for a year or two overseas, and that was their draw home, did not want to let it go. And if it's not for Captain America, I think we're still talking the funny books for kids.
Yep. Yeah.
If we wouldn't have gone dark, deserves on it.
Yeah, no. If we wouldn't have gone dark with the loss of Bucky, I think it would still be this bubblegum kind of, hey, save the day, and that's it. Nothing. We got the bad guy, we put him away. I think once we added that not little, it was a lot of darkness at the time. You grabbed a different audience and you propelled comics to a different level. Look at us. We're sharing things. You shared things with my son that I would have never thought of, as a fan, as a geek. And now we're still talking about those things today. Here we're coming on 80 years of Captain America. We all took the hook. We took the bait, and haven't let go yet.
Well, and what's really interesting is in colleges and universities now, lots of them in the English department, as part of the curriculum, there is a class usually on the history of comic books. Because with any literary form, and fight me all you want, people, comic books are literature because you're getting kids to read.
Absolutely.
So there's that.
I would not
the
with
structure
any literary form. With any literary form, it will evolve. So that's what comic books have done over the years too. And so and we do attribute that. That comes from, like you guys said, that comes from the storylines in Captain America, comes from the storylines in Superman. Those golden age heroes, they propelled it to what it is today. And without them,
think about the opening sequence of all the Marvel movies. What are we looking at? We're looking at the comic book pictures with the new actors of these, of each Avenger, of each person in the Marvel universe. And it's literally, it looks like a comic book. They look illustrated. And what does that do? That brings you in and says, "Ooh, I'm going to get a comic book movie." And a lot of times we get a comic book movie. Like, if you kind of close your eyes for a second and picture thought bubbles and speaking bubbles and boom, pow, bang, like that's what we're getting. And I love that. I love it.
Okay, now I have one more point to make before we move on. And this, because of course Batman did it when all the Robins kept leaving or dying. If they put Captain on ice for a good 30 years, 20 years, something like that. I don't know the exact year.
Yeah,
if
20
they would
years,
have
I
kept
think, so it
going
was the 60s again.
Instead of instead of putting him on ice, he went straight through. Would they have replaced Bucky like they did with Robin?
They did replace Bucky.
They did? Why does no one remember this guy?
I'm trying to think of.
Oh, was that the girl?
I saw it.
It was a woman. Yeah, it was a girl. Yeah, it was after Bucky's death. But yeah, so
okay, well, never mind. My point doesn't mean anything.
But I mean, I think it was only the one. Let me see if I can. Yeah, let me see if I can find it because I forgot to.
Yeah, I don't have.
Yeah, I mean, there were multiple Buckys. Free Spirit, that's her name. It's Free Spirit, and then there was Golden Girl. That's what it was. He replaced her with Golden Girl. He replaced Bucky with Golden Girl when Bucky
died. Did he
died.
thank her for being a friend?
Estelle Getty. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, that would have been
probably actually Betty White.
If it would have been Betty White, that would have been amazing.
Okay, in my mind, it's now Betty White. So thank you for that. Yeah, she was called Golden Girls, but it was, and then we got Falcon, and then there was a couple of different Buckys.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. I withdraw. I was wrong. So let's.
I know what you're saying, though. Yeah. I know what you're saying, and I know where you're going with it.
None of them were memorable like the Robins were.
Right, I literally had to just look up Golden Girl because I had to sit here going, I know it was a girl, but I don't know. And that's a pretty
memorable name. I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah.
I think her name was Miss. I think there was one called Spitfire too, but I can't remember.
I don't remember.
Yeah. See.
Okay. So before we go on to the post-thought era, let's go on to our listener feedback.
And now, let's see what all of our geek rock stars have to say.
So for our listener feedback, we asked, why do you feel Captain America connects with so many people and continues to? So, Courtney, would you like to read these for us? Because I ain't.
No, of course I will. So thank you everybody who answered, because there's some really, really great answers. And if I don't read yours on air, you know the rules. It's just because I ran out of time. Sorry. Doesn't mean I don't love you, because we do. So Andy Trudell, Andy, if I say your last name wrong, please excuse me. Because he fights for the little guy. He is the patriot that is always doing the right thing. He also does it with basically only his strength. He doesn't have any of the extraordinary powers like flight or laser eyes. He is what most people want to be. And that kind of reminds me of an interview Chris Evans did when they were talking about it. And he goes, I don't understand why I'm the leader, because everybody else is flying around and I have to take the stairs.
That's kind of the point.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. So Daniel Houston says, for me, it's his resolve to stand for what he believes is right, to see it through no matter how hard and challenging it gets. Our very own Tyler Romine says he is the true embodiment of the word hero, all while staying humble to his roots. He is strong, not just physically, but also in character. He will not back down from a fight, nor the pursuit of justice. He lives by a code and does not stray from it. The best part is that kids can realistically dream of being like him when they grow up, because the only unattainable power is his super strength. Cap is the best. And our very own Christina Belden says he has a code of honor that guides everything he does. He's the boy next door, the hero from the past, thrust into the future, but he still remains the same Captain America we know and love. And that's our listener feedback. And thanks, everybody.
We definitely appreciate it. Now, I want to touch on something that there was a word that I think Tyler said. I think it was Tyler that said it. Humility. Him being humble is what makes him. Everybody feels like they want Steve to be their friend. I'm not talking just comics. I'm talking you as the reader. Mm-hmm. You want to be friends with Steve because of his humility, and he's humble. He's going to be stronger than you because he took the steroids, but he's never going to hold it over your head that he's stronger than you, right. Which has made for some fantastic team ups, which we'll get to after in a minute. But I think the humility is such a key issue. If you guys could take one character point of Steve, what do you think is the most endearing to you, Skeeter?
I'm going to go directly to what I do for a living, and I think one of the things that hits me the hardest, like when we watch, when you watch it, and he's in that museum with the Captain America piece, and he's standing there with his ball cap on, and the little kid looks up at him and looks at the thing and looks back at him, and he just kind of winks and gives him one of these.
Yeah.
I just think that just who he is. I mean, humility is...
he's the opposite of a Kardashian.
It's literally, it's like, that's everything about him. I can do this all day. Like,
it's what makes him. Yeah. It's what makes him a great foil for Tony in Civil War, because Tony's a narcissist. Yeah, Tony's a narcissist. Tony's a boastful narcissist.
Yep.
Boastful Loki? I'm sorry, bad joke.
No, because he doesn't.
That's another show altogether.
Because he doesn't have Mjolnir. So
Loki. But he, he just, everything that he does, like his desire to serve his country, for those of us, Dub and I both did, and it's a voluntary thing. His desire was beyond to serve his country, to go and fight and possibly die for freedom. That's what it's all about. Like, that's the trait that I always desired to have,
Yeah.
So,
Courtney, you got anything to add on that?
I like his loyalty too.
Yeah, that's a good
one.
He's
loyal to his country, but he's also loyal to those that he calls friend and those that he loves. You can't get any better combination than the deep loyalty and the deep humility that Steve Rogers has. So,
yep.
Yeah, I think this country needs to look back.
We need another
Both
Steve
sides
Rogers.
need to look at a Captain America again. It's important.
We need a Steve Rogers.
Yeah. Do you? And I know he was in one story arc. Do you think he'd be a good or bad president?
Was he a president?
This is not. He was president.
I know he was a police officer.
No, he ended up giving it up because all the world leaders wanted to try to take advantage, and because he had never been a politician, and something. But do you think he would be a good president? I think he'd be a good senator, not a good president.
I don't think he'd be good in politics, period.
No.
He wouldn't. No. Well, he wouldn't bend.
He wouldn't bend, yeah. But he's honest and he's loyal.
He's too guileless.
So he couldn't be a politician. Yeah.
No, he's way too guileless. I mean, he doesn't. He manipulates every now and then, but manipulation of his enemy is not the main way he takes his enemy down.
Could you see that nowadays, though, if like Captain America actually ran? You lied on your enlistment papers. Oh, really, dude?
Oh, geez.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, technically, yeah, he lied 5 times, didn't he?
No, I mean, I think he needs to be a soldier. I think he could be like, if a political route, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, him running. Because he's got a tactical mind.
Because those aren't politicians.
Yeah.
They made him director of S.H.I.E.L.D. for a while, too.
Yeah,
in the
and
comics,
that's
but I
kind of
mean
what
that
they were
didn't
saying on that too.
that
And
didn't work
that didn't work out.
either.
So maybe he just needs to be the
Because,
guy that goes kicks
well,
butt.
yeah,
Yep.
let's be honest. As much as we
Director of
love,
butt kicking.
right, like as much as we love to speculate Steve as president or Steve as their director of Shield, like they had him for a while, what we all really want is we want our Captain America to go out and beat up the bad guys.
Oh yeah,
That's what we
that'd
want
be a
to
boring
see.
comic. Otherwise,
Right, like at one time he was a police officer too. He went into law enforcement. And the thing is like that's great, but I want him to go punch Red Skull.
yeah,
Captain America,
That's what
turn
I
it
want. That's what I want my Captain America to do. You know, it's like Batman can use intrigue, and I mean, I don't mind Batman beating everybody up too, but like I want
he's
my
a different
Batman.
character. Yeah,
Right. I want my Batman to be a detective. I want my Batman to be manipulative. I want my Captain America to punch people in the face. Punch the bad guys in the face. That's what I want.
and jump out of airplanes without a parachute.
Right, and jump out of
'Cause why
airplanes.
not?
And because why not?
Okay, so let's talk the post Thaw era. Yeah, I mean, in general, anything you guys want to hit on as far as the, I guess, current era? I think that we've had a lot more hit and miss than we had in the World War II era.
Yeah.
Because if writers don't 100% understand this character, it's wrong. In World War II, they had I think probably 3 different writers total.
Yeah.
So they were all friends and they knew each other. And then they have to go through all the history with these current ones, and these guys don't know the character, and that's part of the issues we've had. I mean, I love modern era Cap. I mean, I love some of the things they've done. I like some of the things you don't hear about. Captain America and the Shield Corps went on for a while, and they were that was fun. They were all people with super soldier serum, but they only had like a part of it. And that was a fun little run. It's something that's forgotten, but that was a fun run.
But World War II era, there was purpose.
Yeah.
Like they really had a lot of content to write on, to draw, to build comic books. As we left World War II, as we left Pearl Harbor, as all of those things kind of transitioned, and we went into this kind of, I mean, until Korea and then Vietnam and that, I mean, they were having to kind of make stuff up, you know, which did they do okay? Yeah, they had a soldier without a war. So what was he doing? Fighting crime? We had people to do that. We had Batman. We had Superman. We had dudes fighting the bad guys. What was Steve Rogers to do if he wasn't punching Hitler in the face?
Yeah.
Or fighting the Japanese or something? I don't know.
Yeah. And I think if you go back and you look, that's when the popularity of the character started to decline.
Yeah.
Because they didn't know what to do with him. And I mean, I would say even until he was killed in 2007 in the Civil War, where Tony had to kill him. I think he died before that, didn't he? Too? I don't know. He died a lot. He died a death, but yeah. He died a lot in the Bronze and the Silver Ages. Because they didn't know what to do with him. So they kept killing him and then bringing him back and killing him and bringing him back. And I think that's where the decline in the character really started to happen. And that's why it's my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, guys, because you did some research too, and I don't know if I read it wrong, but it's my understanding when they killed him off in Civil War, they weren't going to bring him back.
That's what I heard.
They were, instead of just retiring the character because he wasn't as popular as he was before, they killed him off in Civil War. They gave him the glorious death of fighting Tony
And that wasn't a good death.
Over the the superhero. It's not the Sokovian. Yeah, it's not the Sokovian Accords like in the movie, guys. It was, thank you. I couldn't remember what it was. And so they were just going to let him be dead. They weren't going to bring him back. There was going to be no more Captain America. That was it. He was done. But there was such a backlash because people still loved him. I mean, the books weren't selling. The books were not selling. And so they weren't making any money off of him anymore. So that's why they decided to ice him the second time. See what I did there?
Yeah, see that.
See what I did there?
Very well played. Nice.
Thank you. And so, I mean, it was just because they didn't know what to do with him. It's like you said, Skeet, they didn't know what to do because, in the Korean War and in the Vietnam War, there wasn't like this one big head guy like the Nazis or Hitler for him to fight.
And people didn't want to be there.
Yeah,
this was a war that we didn't want to have.
Yeah,
so
there were such mixed feelings. Yeah, there were such mixed feelings about both of those. There were people on both sides of the fence, and so they couldn't have him do what he normally does, which is fight in a war, because that wasn't going to sell books, because you're going to get people who didn't agree and then people who do agree. And I mean, it's just without getting too
they should probably learn that in today's comic market.
Too mired in the politicism of all that. But
I look at the timeline, and there's a lot of talk of timeline now with everything else in the world, but like, look at the timeline. Like, we came out of the Depression and we needed something great to kind of bring us out of the Depression other than jumping into the war. So we jumped right into World War II. That kind of developed us, but we needed these shining lights of hope. And that's what Kirby and the boys gave us with Captain America, was we needed to bring the love back for America. And we had this soldier, if you will, that was the shining star, that this right here, that big star for America to bring us through. And then we kind of hit that doldrum of nothing, no wars, no anything. Then Korea kind of kept this level playing. But during that time, like, we had, the different caps, he with Captain, the first time he died, and then going away, and then all of the different caps in between, and people were like, who the heck is this guy? So they had to bring him back because nobody liked who they brought in. So, I just think there were so many different iterations. Like, when do you get back to Steve Rogers, and what do you do? Like, if you had to bring somebody else in, like right now, look what just happened with Falcon and Winter Soldier. I mean, they brought in John, help me out,
Walker.
John Walker, which is comic book good. It's lore. So we think about that, and okay, they did that, but then Steve comes back when Walker is the guy. Not, of course, not in Falcon and Winter Soldier, but comic book lore.
Yeah.
Steve comes back again, and he's like, nah, dude. He came back, actually, I think I saw in the black and red, and then they switched suits. Steve took back over his normal Captain America, and then U.S. Agent took off on his own and did his own thing. So, I mean, and once again, Red Skull's involved in that hot mess too. So, like, we continue to have these same villains and same things like that, which brought us back and pushed us away at the same time, I think.
That's a good way of saying that. Yeah. So, I think that the best stopgap would have been, and this is going to lead on to our next question I'm going to ask you guys. I think the best stopgap would have been to have done a once a month series with Captain America, instead of canceling it, instead of just letting him, give him a once a month team up with somebody else. You're giving the rub to another character, and you're keeping the brand of Captain America as Captain America. I mean, you can he could go with the Punisher and he could stop him from doing stuff. He could go with Tony and go free a village in Kazakhstan or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that would have been the best stopgap they could have done. Now I'm going to ask you guys, and I'm going to answer it as well. Who is your favorite team ups with Captain America? And I have two. And since I just bring this on you, my two that I've loved more than anything else is him and Wolverine, because Wolverine, the only person on Earth that Logan would say that he respects is Steve. And it's great to see Logan fall in line 100%. And I love seeing
that's the power of Steve.
Yep. And that's why he's the leader. And then I love to see him in Deadpool, because Deadpool, he respects him, but he doesn't know how.
Yeah.
So everything is an annoyance, but Steve being the guy he is just like, with the fake smile and trying to encourage him, even though he's screwing up because he's being weighed. But those are my two favorite team ups with Captain America. Who are your guys' favorite team ups with in the Captain America world? Let's start with Skeeter again on that one.
Oh man,
Sound like old guy sitting down. Oh,
all right, dad noise.
That's
sorry for that, listeners.
Dad noise. I wow. I'm gonna have to go right along with you. Like, I'm a Wolverine fan. I've always been a Logan fan since day one. Like, I just love that, and the fact that those two came together, it was salt and pepper. Like, I mean, it was those two things together. I mean, that you just needed. Like, you had this gruff external and this good boy, and I needed that team up. I think the connection between Steve and Sam, like, it's not a team up, but it's I think ultimately the On Your Left,
for me, movies really brought that into something special.
Oh
like
way
that,
more special
to
than
me,
ever was in the comics.
Was, and that was definitely movie based for me, more than anything. I just think that their friendship, that the kinship that those two had from the very beginning, that you could see just created right off the bat, with the On Your Left, to the Help Out, to talking about the veteran issues, and really, like, bringing that home. Did it for me. I love that. I love that team up. I love that connection. And I always will. I always will. Was so glad when, in Falcon and Winter Soldier, when you get, the new Cap, like, in that new outfit with the red, white, and blue, stars and stripes, just,
Nice.
Totally. Yep.
Miss
That's
Siege
me.
Vega.
I like everybody else's, but I think my first one is when he teams up with Namor.
Really? I don't remember those, but
they're so different. Because like half the time Namor is the villain.
More than
and
half.
He's a narcissist, and he's hot-headed, and he's a lot like Tony. He's arrogant.
He's worse than Tony.
Worse. But Steve, much like Deadpool and Wolverine, Steve manages to pull him in line. So I thought that was, I really dig that one. There's a run where they team up, and it's like they go back to 1942 and they're teaming up, and there's the Thule Society, and they got to fight the Kraken and all sorts of other fun stuff. And I also like when he teams up with a Black Panther, because you don't really get it from the movies as much. But what a lot of people don't understand is that when T'Challa has the power of the Black Panther, he has essentially the same speed and strength and endurance that Steve does. So they're equally matched in that. And I think they're also equally matched in loyalty and humility, because T'Challa is like that as well. And so they make a very interesting team up. You don't see that as much. They don't kind of come out and tell you that that's the case in, say, like Infinity Wars, but when you see them running toward the whatever those creepy things are that are trying to break through the Wakandan force field, they run at exactly the same pace. So T'Challa's the only one that I know of that can keep up physically with Steve, and I dig that.
That's an interesting thought. Actually, I hadn't really thought about that before, but that's awesome. Now we're almost out of time, so I want to hit this. How do you guys feel about the passing of the mantle? They constantly have tried to do it. I don't think they've ever fully successfully done it. However, I will say this: they've done a better job in the cinematic universe than they have in the comics. The comics has always been a huge turd on the floor whenever they've tried to pass the mantle. it doesn't work. Unless he's leading a team, but he still has to be there. How do you guys feel about the passing of the mantle? I know in the cinematic they're going to have to, but in comics, I don't think they ever really should. Because Steve is, how do I put this? Clark Kent is Superman, but he's Superman. Steve Rogers is Captain America, and Captain America is Steve Rogers. There is no pulling apart of the two. That's why I don't think they can really do a passing on the mantle. What about you, Courtney?
In a cinematic world, I don't mind that Sam's got it. I'm glad that they gave Sam the mantle of Captain America. I know there's supposed to be 4 Captain America movies coming out. To be honest with you, I will be surprised if they are all Sam.
Probably.
No, I keep hearing rumors that Evans may actually come back.
Well, then I'm good. I'm okay.
Yeah. So I mean, I think Anthony Mackie does a really good job as Falcon. And I would like to see them expand more on him being Captain America, because we really only got him as Cap in the last episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier. So I would like to see what he does with it. But I mean, I'm kind of like you. I liked Steve Rogers as Captain America. In the comics, I hated it when they gave it to Bucky, because Bucky's the Winter Soldier. He's never going to be worthy enough to carry the shield for me. No matter how many times he tries to redeem himself, and how many times or how much reprogramming the Wakandans do to get him back to being a normal human being, he's still never going to be what you have to be Captain America. That's not disparaging Sebastian Stan, so don't come at me, girls that love him.
No, it's his psychology.
Yeah, it's not different. Disparaging the character of Bucky. I love the character of Bucky Barnes. He's just not the one who should ever be Captain America, if that makes sense.
Skeeter, what about you?
So, I'm going to go with Court on this one. So early on, they passed it to Bucky, pre-Winter Soldier. And then later in the comic books, post-Winter Soldier, they give it back to him. From the research that I saw. And then Bucky, Winter Soldier, Bucky, Captain America, Winter Soldier, Bucky was arrested by the Russians for crimes that he committed as the Winter Soldier, and ended up dropping it. So, and Steve came back again and took up the mantle again. I think the hardest part for me in any time, in any iteration, giving up the mantle, right from the beginning, we talk about, or not for this show, but when we're in other shows, what does the doctor tell Steve? What does the serum do?
Yeah.
Right. Makes good better and bad worse. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Steve is good. I mean, you have to have what Steve Rogers has in the loyalty, in the humility, in all of the things, like just in order to be Captain America, in order for the super serum to work properly. And I don't think there's anyone that you can pass that mantle to.
Yeah.
They pass it to Sam, currently in the MCU. So, but what does Sam have? Sam doesn't have the serum.
No.
Sam's a normal dude that has a suit, just like Iron Man, just like Batman. I mean, except for he's not rich. So yeah, we have this stopgap. So honestly, in my opinion, there's no mantle passing. No one can be Captain America like Steve Rogers, super soldier serum Steve Rogers, because of his genuine goodness that he has about him. Good makes great, bad makes worse.
Gotcha. So we're going to, I have one question left. We're going to answer this one quick. I know we're out of time, but I really want to get your guys' thoughts on this one. The future of Captain America. where do you see him, either cinematic or comic books, in 10 years? Let's do this fast. And I want to do mine. I'll do mine since you guys need a second to think about it. I honestly don't have a lot of faith. I've seen what the writers have been doing with Captain America and trying to, or the editorial staff is letting him go down paths that the character should never go down. I don't know if we'll have Captain America in 10 years. It's sad. He'll still be making money in the cinematic universe, but I think the comic books, as much as they try to make things edgy and different and cool with Captain America, the more they do it, the less people buy him. So I hope I'm wrong, but I don't have a lot of faith that we'll have Captain America in 10 years, and they have to ice him until we have another national issue. Unfortunately, that's my worry. Okay, Skeeter.
Well, with creativity being what it is, as far as the comic book, in the comic book world, in a lot of Hollywood, there are some amazing writers. One of them is, the way I'm looking at this screen is below me. And I feel like there is some imagination in people that aren't constantly writing things and doing things. But with people that are constantly writing, I think we've lost that love for the lore, for the comic book imagination that was in the 40s, that was in the 50s, that was in those times of the early comic books. So will we have Captain America in 10 years? No, not the Captain America that we need, or that's going to keep readers whole. The cinematic universe,
they're printing money. It ain't going nowhere.
Unless, I mean, that's what they do. I mean, the cinematic universe for Marvel is run by, and I've said it before and I'll say it again, by, Mickey Soprano. And, it's really, the reality for that is you could print money, you can make it whatever you want and whoever you want. But unless they clone Chris Evans as a young kid and bring him back, that's what it is. So I don't think
concept, but
right.
Courtney,
I think barring anything amazing happening with the character in the MCU, I would say that the comic books are not gonna, because comic book reading,
it's dying.
Is falling off anyways. It's dying anyways. And what I mean by barring anything exciting, because I mean we have to remember that Cap was killed in 2007. He came back into comics in 2010. That was around the time we got Chris Evans as Captain America. And that kind of caused an upswing in his books again. And so, as much as I love Anthony Mackie, and I think he's going to be a great Falcon as Captain America, I don't think where they're going to take him in the MCU is going to be enough to juice up comic book sales. So if he has his own book, if Cap has his own book in 10 years, still, I will be surprised.
Yeah.
I think at that point in time, he will be relegated to team ups with other characters at that point in time. But I could be wrong. And I mean,
and we all hope we are.
Skeeter's right. Unless, Evans could come back now, but he's also 40. So part of the reason that he said he left is because the stunts were getting too hard for him to physically bounce back from. I mean, he threw out his shoulder during Winter Soldier. And so, and that's one of the reasons that Downey stepped on out too, is because the guys are getting older. They're physically it's harder to bounce back from stunts and stuff when you get older. So, if he comes back, I don't see him coming back, to do 4 or 5 different Captain America movies. He might come back as a cameo here and there, but I think for now,
from the dark side of the moon.
Yeah, for now we have we have Sam, and I think Anthony Mackie will do a good job. I just do not think. I don't think the Captain America character without Steve Rogers in the MCU is going to go as far as everybody thinks it's going to, well, if that makes any sense.
This is the issue we have with perfect casting.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know,
and hey, and Chris Evans, if you're watching, or anybody next to him, hey, give us a look up, iHeartGeek.com.
Well, with that being said, hit your subscribes, hit your likes, go to the website www.iheartgeekshow.com. Use the code we paid extra for it. Go to our store, get a t-shirt, go to our Patreon, you get at least one extra episode a week. And if I'm not missing anything, if you on your podcast things, give us a review. We will send you a sticker. And with that being said, I'm Dub. I'm here with Courtney. I'm here with Skeeter. Keep on geeking on, guys. Language.
Happy 4th.
Language.
Language.
Yeah, I know.
You have been listening to the latest episode of the iHeart Geek Show. Make sure you visit our website at www.iheartgeekshow.com. Make sure to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you check us out on YouTube, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And keep on geeking on to all of you geek rock stars.